We go back to a period in time when the country was racked with recession. Unemployment rose to 19%, and workers were earning an average of 61 cents per hour. It was a time when the luxury of a new car might cost around $600. Gas averaged 19 cents per gallon, and the average cost of a new house was $6,300. The year 1938, when two inventive young men started what turned out to be the driving force behind an entire industry, and the start of 75 years of connections within the appraisal and tax industry. They came together in December 1938 in a small one-room office on Monument Avenue in Dayton, Ohio. John Cole had accumulated years of experience in all phases of tax revaluation work. A fine background of study and research and prior experience in the construction and engineering field had given him an insight into the theory and practice of property revaluation. Harold Layer had personally directed 8 separate reassessment programs. His years of experience in the construction field had given him practical knowledge of building practices and construction costs, which was invaluable in developing tables and schedules for revaluation work. John Cole and Harold Layer drew up papers that year for a business that would become an industry powerhouse. A short time later, Melvin Trumbull joined the partnership, bringing with him years of experience covering all phases of construction valuation work. And so the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company was born of the collective experience and foresight of these 3 men. It soon became widely known and recognized as CLT. CLT spent the 1940s building its business in size and scope. It built field organizations to work in jurisdictions throughout the country, wherever property appraisal projects led them. In these early years, CLT hired new employees at a very fast rate. Its first employee, staff appraiser Joseph E. Weiss, was an experienced appraiser in tax valuation, as well as construction and engineering. Soon after, Louis Bizik was hired. He specialized in commercial, industrial, and other special-purpose properties. Both remained with CLT for decades, retiring in the early 1970s. Throughout the rest of the decade, CLT continued hiring and retaining the best staff and field organizations in the country, and soon built a reputation as a pioneer in the training of appraisal professionals. And with each new employee, the men and women of CLT would begin fostering relationships within the company and industry that would last for decades and many generations to come. The 1950s opened the door wide for CLT, with the geographical scope and size of appraisal jobs growing throughout the decade. And with that prolific growth, connections among people deepened for the extended Cole-Layer-Trumble family. The addition of more and more staff meant that some long-standing employees were now introducing their own children as workers for the company. Some employees moved on to become assessors and CLT clients, while some clients became employees of CLT. And that tradition has continued to this very day, with multiple generations of families who have developed meaningful careers in the appraisal and tax industry, at CLT and elsewhere. Importantly to all those who serve in the appraisal and tax industry, the 1950s also brought the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company's most significant innovation of all, one that changed the way everything was done then and is done today. The year was 1958, when the management of CLT decided a serious study should be made of electronic data processing applications to the mass appraisal field. Dr. Roy Reeves, serving as data processing consultant, along with CLT Vice President Ralph Baer and Mary Gong, began the very first work on appraisal software development. The rest is history. CLT appraisal programs have developed and remained state-of-the-art through the years, advancing from mainframes to mini-computers to microcomputers, to applications now hosted in the cloud and accessed on mobile devices in the field. By the time CLT reached the 1960s, it had made its presence known across the country, revaluing 22 state capitals and serving 43 states, strengthening and spreading the connections and influence of the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company throughout the appraisal and tax industry. In 1964, the company occupied a building at 3535 Salem Avenue in Dayton, Ohio, which would ultimately serve as its headquarters for many years. During the 60s, CLT headquarters bustled with business, as CLT staff supported revaluation projects across the country. Many jurisdictions became repeat clients who depended on CLT for quality, state-of-the-art programs. In some instances, initial engagements became decades-long relationships that lasted over the course of many projects and still endure today, such as its 50-plus-year relationship with jurisdictions in Indiana that all started with a revaluation project in Marion County District Office in the early 1960s. The 1970s proved to be an era of unprecedented growth, with continued advances in technology and services. In 1972, the founders of CLT decided to sell the business to a company called American Appraisal. At the same time, John Cole, Harold Layer, and Melvin Trumbull decided to retire. These men were true visionaries, and together they led the company they founded and grew for over 30 years. After the founders retired, a John Cole disciple, Bill Gunlock, stepped in as CLT president. He served as president until he left in 1973 to start a business called Sabre. Sabre was ultimately acquired by Manitron and would later become the backbone of Manitron's property tax operations. It was professional moves like this among people from CLT that created and underscored the connections CLT made and continues to have today in the appraisal and tax industry. In 1975, CLT was sold to Day & Zimmerman, a well-established international services firm. The acquisition proved to be highly beneficial to CLT, with the appointment of Darrell Copeland as Executive Vice President and CEO. His experience and vision brought a new sense of direction to the company. Under his leadership, it developed a strong emphasis on quality service and sustained system enhancements. During this time, computer systems and software were developed and enhanced, including the first mini-computer installation made in an Ohio county in 1976. These developments and advances in technology were made by the many executives and staff with highly developed technical expertise hired during the 70s. Many remain with the company today. They are valued for their expertise and are respected throughout the appraisal industry. And many hired during the 70s remain connected to CLT. Charles Woody Carter went on to work for Manitron, while his son, Chris Carter, is today an active and successful account executive with Tyler's Appraisal and Tax Division. Ralph Johnson, who began his career with CLT in 1965, saw his son Tom Johnson join the company in 1972. While Tom is no longer an employee, his brother Dave, or DJ, today serves as president of Tyler's CLT Appraisal Services. Other multi-generation and extended CLT families included Ralph Baer and son Randall, Jeannie Huxell Flynn, an appraisal operations manager with Tyler's CLT Appraisal Services, Ray Barhorst, a project manager for Tyler and husband of Sharon Barhorst, a former CLT employee who now serves as Director of Information Services for Manatee County and is a Tyler client. Diane Story, Executive Administrative Assistant at Tyler, is the wife of Ben Story. Iris Heelis, a former CLT employee, is the wife of Howard Heelis, a technical product architect at Tyler. Tyler is proud of its heritage and the many connections it has fostered. The 1980s brought continued growth and success for CLT. One hallmark was the birth of truly modern tools by today's standards, including a very recognizable industry-leading software known today as IAS World. Cole-Layer-Trumble successfully completed many large appraisal projects in the 80s. In 1983, a statewide revaluation program was signed with West Virginia. In 1986, the state of Kansas selected CLT to develop and install a statewide appraisal system to serve all 105 counties. And in 1989, IAS World was first deployed in Greene County, Ohio, where it is still in use today. Also during this time, the company conducted a revaluation program for Rochester, New York, where it became involved with LandDisc technology. LandDisc involved videotaping properties from the street with labeled information and transferring it to a laser video disc. With CLT's ability to interface this imagery with its mass appraisal system, the future possibility of achieving desktop review for the industry became a reality. In 1982, CLT officially announced its headquarters move to 3199 Kleppinger Road, Dayton, a 24,000 square foot facility that better served its growing staff and operations. The 1990s brought more change for CLT, a fast rate of technological change and business growth, and a new parent company. On November 4, 1999, the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company was acquired by Dallas-based Tyler Technologies, the leading software and services company delivering public sector solutions across the United States, Canada, the Caribbean, the United Kingdom, and other international locations. Through the acquisition, CLT combined forces with the public sector leadership of Tyler Technologies and became Tyler Technologies Appraisal and Tax Division, its home today. As Tyler's Appraisal and Tax Division, the company builds a stronger brand identity and continues its leadership position as the country's only national mass appraisal services company and trusted provider of integrated software and services. The first decade of the new millennium opened the book on an even brighter future for Tyler's blossoming appraisal and tax division. In 2005, Andrew Teed became the president of Tyler Technologies Appraisal and Tax Division, effectively becoming the 11th chief officer of the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company's legacy of appraisal industry leadership. During his tenure, Andy has focused on developing efficient business processes and a strong customer-focused culture. He has made sure the company is investing heavily in its software and services to assure that it keeps meeting the needs of an increasingly budget-challenged and mobile client base. Development of Orion appraisal and tax software began in 2002 with the launch of its first installation in Fort Bend County, Texas in August 2003, followed by Williamson County, Texas in October that same year. In 2009, Tyler acquired Assessment Evaluation Services, AES, known today as Tyler AES California. It continues to serve California's largest counties today. The company launched Tyler Verified Data Collection and Verification Services in 2011 through its acquisition of Yada Mobile Video Services. A publicly traded company, Tyler Technologies' long-term vision for and understanding of the public sector, financial stability, world-class solutions, and support services will ensure it remains the dominant provider of appraisal and tax administration solutions in the United States. Tyler's Appraisal and Tax Division moved into new headquarters in Moraine, Ohio in 2012. In its new location, the company stands committed to providing a laser focus on serving the public sector and only the public sector, and promises to keep the company at the leading edge of the appraisal industry for decades to come. After 75 strong years in the business, the Cole-Layer-Trumble Company, now part of Tyler Technologies, is still leading the way. It was the first national property revaluation company in the U.S. and remains today as the country's only national mass appraisal services company. Its deep legacy of spreading talent, expertise, technologies, and standards across the industry stands as a tribute to the connections forged by doing business with integrity and in a way that places value on relationship building with clients, among employees, and the appraisal industry at large. Tyler Technologies Appraisal and Tax, connected to the industry and connected to you since 1938.